Welcome to the Natural Way of Being video blog. This video is titled, It Takes Two to Tango. So have you ever wondered why some interactions that you have just seem like magical and open and connected and just it feels, and you both are like just having this great connection and you're getting insights and it just seems like amazing. And then other interactions, it may even be with the same person, you know, it just seems more flat and subdued. It's just like, why isn't there, and just like, did I do something wrong? Like, why isn't it like all open like it was before? Did you ever wonder that? Well, I did. And so when I want to start with a story. So it was December of, this last year, 2020. And we were just starting to do this thing on Thursday nights called the sharing circle. And my friend, and one of that requested the sharing circle, she asked, could we do it like a ceremony? She had done some ceremony at the solstices with us. And she's like, can we do sharing circle as a ceremony? And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea because we're on Zoom. Maybe it'll help people be more open, and it sounds good to me. So we started doing these sharing circles and, I did a little meditation and then I did, we did some smudge, some sage, and we purified. And then I would call in the spirits and the energies that we were going to work with. And it was, it was amazing because like these sharing circles would go really deep and they would be like magical. Like people were getting these amazing insights and, and it just, these truths were coming through and people were doing this major work. It was just like really cool. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm so happy about this. And then I started doing that in some of my sessions too. I just would do the same preparation, for ceremony. And then I would, but in the sessions, I wasn't doing it with the person. I was doing it before, which is kind of interesting. Maybe I ought to start doing that with my sessions. But anyway, but some of the sessions would be like amazing, open, mind-blowing sessions and others were not. And same with some of the shares. Like I remember one of my friends came into the sharing circle and I would telling her how awesome they were. And then of course the one that she comes in, it's like that one was more subdued and like a little lower energy. It wasn't as magical. And I'm just like, damn, I must be doing something wrong. Like why I want to make them all magical and amazing, right? Of course, that would be a natural thing. And so I sat with it. Oh, it must have been like a month or so. And I prayed on it. I meditated on it. I did, like self-inquiry work on it. Why is it that sometimes it's magical and sometimes it's not? What can I do to make the ones that are not magical, magical? That was really more what my inquiry was. And, and of course I was doing more sessions and more sharing circles, which was giving me more information. And over the next couple of months, I started realizing that, what it really takes for that magic to happen is like, both parties need to choose to be open at a really deep level. If we're doing a sharing circle, we have numerous people choosing to be open at a deep level, or maybe just if I'm facilitating, maybe I'm processing with the one person and we're both open at a deep level. So then the magic happens. And then other people are touched by the magic and then they open up and then it opens up more and more and it gets more and more magical. So, what I learned is that my responsibility, and what I would maybe suggest your responsibility could be too, my responsibility was to be open, okay, is to get myself really open, create the conditions to be open, like, that's why I was doing the ceremony stuff. I mean, those are props, invitations for people to open at a deep level. So and then invite them to be open. And at that point, that's really all I can do. At that point, it's their choice whether they choose to be open or not. And then to the extent they choose to be open, I meet them at that level of openness, if you will, and then we work there. And then maybe partway through it drops down deeper into more openness, and then we work there. But it's really important that I realize that's my responsibility. And beyond that, if it's not open, and I've done everything I can to invite them to be open, it gets to be about them, you know, and then I just work with them at the deepest level that they're able to work. And this isn't just for sessions, right? I mean, some of you may be healers or, you know, coaches or whatever else, and it really works for you. But this also fits just if you're having an interaction with a friend or a family member or a child. You know, it's like it's your responsibility, in a sense, to be open and to create the conditions and invite them to be open. And then beyond that, you've got to let it go. You know, you got to just let it go and invite them. You're almost enticing them. It's really nice being open. Come on and join me, you know? And that's really all you can do. And then you relate to them at that level, you know? And so the other thing to realize is that even when the other thing I realized is even when my sessions weren't magical, that doesn't mean that we weren't getting good work done. Some of the most powerful sessions didn't feel magical at the time, but what I later found out was, you know, something I said kind of triggered them. They were actually a little angry at me because I said something, and then a couple days later they had this magical breakthrough. But see, I walked away thinking, oh, well, that session wasn't very magical. I wonder if I did my job right, you know? And so just realize that, you know, all we can do is be open and bring as much depth and beauty as we can to an interaction, invite them to be part of that, and then let it go, you know, and then hope that it's open and magical, you know. And so there's one other skill I wanted to share around this, and it has to do with the way we evaluate, you know, ourselves ultimately. Our tendency is to do what I did, is to, you know, when I started doing those ceremonies, our tendency is to kind of evaluate ourselves and whether it felt magical or not. Like, did it feel open? And we evaluate ourselves based on the outcome. Like, did it feel like really amazing? And then we evaluate ourselves on that. And that is what, you know, based on what I've said, that is, we have some say in that, but we're also powerless whether, you know, the other person or other people choose to be open. So it's not fair to evaluate ourselves on that outcome because I can't control like 50% of that I can't control it. So what's more effective is to evaluate myself on, was I open? You know, how was I open in that interaction? Did I create the conditions for openness? Did I invite them wholeheartedly? Did I help them feel safe in the interaction so they had every possibility, you know, every reason to be open? And then I evaluate myself on that rather than whether the magic happened or not. So hopefully this is helpful. You know, use this in your interactions. And give yourself a break. You can't be responsible for the magic. It's not just about you. You can only, you know, really be responsible for your part of the magic. And hopefully the rest happens. So anyway, that's my blog for this week. I hope you have a really magical week, that you create the conditions of openness, and that you have some really beautiful interactions. So thank you, and I'll see you in a week.